She was already in handcuffs before anyone understood who she really was. Her face steady. Her breath controlled. Her silence sharper than the cuffs digging into her wrists. People were filming. Officers were arguing. Nobody knew the truth. Not yet. But the truth was about to tear the ground open under everyone standing on that quiet street. What looked like a simple traffic stop was seconds away from exploding into something far bigger than broken laws or broken pride. This was the moment when a routine stop turned into a national threat. This was the moment when an undercover federal mission nearly collapsed on the sidewalk of a town that had never seen anything like this. And it all started with a cracked tail light. The sun had dropped behind the old brick buildings along Ridgewater Avenue in Maple Crest, Virginia, giving the street a soft orange haze. Officer Mark Dalton, a tired man on his 11th hour of patrol, clicked his blinker and pulled behind a silver SUV that had slowed at the intersection. The tail light was dim. Nothing serious. The kind of stop that usually lasted 2 minutes. Mark rubbed his forehead and stepped out of his cruiser. His feet felt heavy on the pavement. His patience had run thin hours ago. "Evening," he said as he approached the window. The tinted glass lowered only halfway. A woman sat behind it with a straight posture and a calm expression. She looked like she was somewhere in her mid-30s. Smooth dark skin. Short twists brushing her jawline. A simple black blazer. No loud radio. No nervous shuffling. She held out her wallet before he even asked. Her confidence irritated him before he knew why. "License and registration," he said. She handed it over with steady hands. "Your name?" he asked. "Lena Brooks." Mark flipped open the ID and stopped mid-breath. The badge inside looked federal, but not one he recognized. It had markings he had never seen. The photo matched her perfectly. The seal looked official. But the agency name was unfamiliar. His stomach tightened. "What agency is this?" he asked. "I am not able to disclose that," Lena said. "You understand you are required to identify yourself clearly," Mark snapped. "My identification is accurate," she replied without raising her voice. Her tone held no fear, no apology. That bothered him more than anything. He stepped back and radioed dispatch. "I need an additional unit at Ridgewater and Pine. ID looks federal, but I cannot confirm it. Send backup." He hated how unsure he sounded. Within minutes, a second patrol car rolled up. 2 younger officers stepped out, both fresh-faced and stiff in their uniforms. They kept their distance while Mark approached the SUV again. "Ma'am, step out of the vehicle," he said. Lena exhaled softly. The kind of breath someone takes when they know everything is about to turn in a new direction. She unbuckled her seatbelt. No arguing. No panic. She stepped out slowly with her hands visible. One rookie moved in quickly. "I have to place you in cuffs until we verify who you are," he said. His voice cracked halfway through. "You are making a mistake," she replied. "You can explain that later," he muttered. People walking along the sidewalk stopped to stare. A woman whispered, "She does not look dangerous." A teenager lifted her phone and started recording. A man stopped his bike just to watch. The rookies closed in. They cuffed Lena's wrists behind her back. Her blazer shifted slightly, revealing a tiny earpiece tucked near her ear. Mark noticed but said nothing. She remained calm. Too calm. Still not fighting. Still not raising her voice. Mark tried questioning her again. "Where do you live?" he asked. "Passing through," she said. "Where were you headed?" "Home." "And where is home?" She looked directly at him. "You already know I cannot answer that." Mark felt something crack in him. Not anger. Something else. A sense that he was missing a piece of a puzzle and everyone around him was about to pay for it. "You think being mysterious helps you," he said. It does not. Right now all I see is someone with no verified ID who refuses basic answers. You have everything you need, she said. You just do not recognize it. That hit deeper than he wanted to admit. The crowd grew. Phones lifted higher. The rookies shifted nervously. Mark tapped his radio again. Dispatch, any updates on the ID match? Silence. A few seconds of static. Still checking, dispatch finally said. Nothing in the standard system. Mark clenched his jaw. He signaled one rookie to pat her down. Before the rookie touched her, Lena said in a low voice, I would not do that. Why not? The rookie asked. If you touch me, Lena said, you may trigger a response you cannot control. The rookie froze. Is that a threat? He whispered. No. A fact. Before anyone processed her words, a sharp screech ripped through the street. Tires screamed against asphalt. Two black SUVs turned the corner at high speed. No sirens. No lights. Just raw force. They stopped half a block away. 4 men stepped out. Each one moved with confidence that came from doing dangerous work too many times to count. One of them held up a badge Mark had never seen in real life, only in classified training material he barely remembered. Release her, the man said. Now. Mark stepped forward. I cannot do that. Not without confirming her identification. You are standing on the edge of a federal breach, the man said calmly. Let her go. Another agent walked behind Lena and spoke into the rookie's ear. Whatever he whispered turned the young officer pale. The rookie unlocked the cuffs with shaking hands. Lena flexed her fingers. No shouting. No dramatic reaction. She simply took back her breath as if nothing had happened. Mark stared at the agents, feeling something he had not felt in years. Fear. Not of danger. Fear of how badly he might have messed up. What agency are you? He asked. The tall man looked at him with no emotion. She works for people who do not have public office doors. And then the real story began to surface. Because someone in the crowd was not filming for internet likes. Someone was watching her for a different reason. Someone waiting for her to make a mistake. Lena's eyes moved through the crowd and locked onto a man near the back. Hood up. Cap pulled low. Not recording. Not talking. Target spotted, Lena whispered into the device on her wrist. One agent sprinted toward the man. The man ran. The alley swallowed them both. Mark stood frozen. What is happening? He asked. Lena answered without looking at him. Someone who knows I should not be here. And that was the moment Mark Dalton finally understood he was standing in the middle of something far bigger than a broken taillight. And nothing about this night was going to stay simple. Mark's pulse hammered in his ears as the alley swallowed the running figures. The crowd held its breath. The air felt heavier than before, like the scene itself understood something dangerous was unfolding just out of sight. Lena stood still, her posture unshaken, as if she had expected this moment the entire evening. The agent who had chased the man returned first. He dragged the hooded figure by the collar, the man stumbling and wincing. A streak of blood ran along his forearm. His hoodie had slipped back, revealing a small device taped under his shirt. Not a microphone. Something else. Something worse. The agent spoke with a steady voice. Tracker. Not an audio feed. Lena's jaw tightened. They were watching my route. She looked at Mark. Your stop wasn't random. Mark felt his stomach drop. What do you mean? Someone fed my movements to the wrong people, she said. Someone inside your system. The words landed like a punch. The rookie officers exchanged uneasy glances. Mark felt the entire past 10 minutes collapsing under the weight of something unseen. Before he could respond, Two agents opened the trunk of Lena's SUV. They lifted a false panel. Beneath it sat a compact black case lined with compartments and coiled wiring. Nothing civilian. Nothing harmless. Mark stepped forward. "What is that?" Lena didn't hesitate. "Classified." Everything inside him wanted to protest, but for the first time that night, he kept quiet. This wasn't his world. It never had been. As the agent scanned the case, Lena shifted her gaze toward the young woman in the red hoodie who had recorded everything. The girl seemed torn between curiosity and fear. "You don't have to stop filming," Lena said gently. The girl nodded, surprised. Lena continued. "Just understand this. What happened here tonight won't stay on the surface. Things are moving underneath that none of these people are trained to see." Mark noticed how she said it. Controlled. Not as a threat, but as a warning meant for someone who might one day need it. Then the real shift happened. Something subtle. Something internal. The agent who had scanned the case stepped to Lena's side. "We need to move," he said. "The detainee's phone shows surveillance images of your vehicle taken before you entered Maplecrest." "So they were waiting," she said. "Yes, and not alone." Lena nodded. "Get him into containment." She pointed at the hooded man. "No contact. No conversation." The agents moved instantly, escorting the captive toward the SUVs. Mark walked closer to her. "You're telling me someone inside my precinct leaked your route?" Lena didn't blink. "I am not telling you that. You just said it yourself." He stepped back, hearing his own voice echo in his head. He hated how unsteady it sounded. She turned toward her SUV again, but something stopped her. Something in the air. Something that did not belong to the street or the crowd. A faint vibration pressed against her wrist from the smartwatch. She raised it slightly. The agent leaning into the trunk froze. "Signal?" he asked. "Someone else is listening," she said. "Not him. Someone higher." Mark felt a cold wave pass through him. "Higher than who?" "You don't want the answer to that," she replied. The crowd thinned slowly as agents began barricading the area. But one rookie stayed rooted in place. The same one who had cuffed her. His eyes stayed fixed on his own belt radio, as if it had betrayed him somehow. Lena noticed. She stepped toward him and lowered her voice. "Your radio. Was it active when you approached me?" The rookie swallowed hard. "It was on scan mode." "Why?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The look in her eyes told Mark everything. Someone had been listening through an open channel. Before the rookie could say anything else, Lena turned and began walking toward the federal vehicles. The agents flanked her, but she didn't follow them. Instead, she paused at the curb and looked back at Mark with a shadow of something softer than anger and sharper than disappointment. "Your night isn't over," she said. "Not even close." She walked past the barricade and headed straight toward Mark's cruiser. Not to enter it, but to open the door herself. She leaned in, scanning the onboard tablet, the radio, the mounted camera. Mark stepped forward. "Hey, you can't just—" She cut him off. "I can and I am." The tablet flashed. She recognized the network identifier tied to the precinct's secure channel. Her expression hardened. "It's compromised," she said. "What is?" Mark asked. "Your internal comms." He stared at her. "That's not possible. You think that because you've never had to imagine the alternative. Someone patched into your channel hours ago. Someone who knew your route, your patrol pattern, your shift time." He felt dizzy. "How do you know all that?" She finally met his eyes. "Because they fed them my location too." He stepped back. His entire world of procedure and protocol cracked open. Then I need to report this, he said. You will, Lena replied. But not yet. Not until I finish what I came here to do. What does that mean? He asked. She closed the cruiser door softly. It means I'm going to your precinct. His voice rose. For what? To find the person who sold me out. The words hit like thunder. Mark's breath caught. The rookies froze. The federal agents exchanged looks that spoke of long histories and longer scars. And Lena Brooks began walking toward the fading glow of Maple Crest's small-town police station, a place that suddenly felt like the center of something dangerous, something hidden, something deeply wrong. Mark didn't know what waited inside that building. But Lena did. And she was walking straight into it. Mark followed her without thinking. His steps felt automatic, driven by something heavier than duty. The night air tightened as they walked, the distance between the street and the precinct shrinking faster than his ability to understand what he had stepped into. Ahead of him, Lena moved with a purpose he had never seen before. Not the confidence of someone in control, but the determination of someone who had already accepted the risk of what waited on the other side. The Maple Crest police station glowed under harsh fluorescent lights. A quiet building. Ordinary. Predictable. Or at least that was what Mark had believed every day he walked through its front doors. Tonight it felt unfamiliar, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. The front desk officer looked up as Lena pushed the door open. His eyes widened when he recognized her. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked. Lena held out a laminated card. Internal clearance. Floor needs to be secured. The officer hesitated. Just 1 second. But Lena caught it. "You heard me," she said. He stood up quickly and moved to shut down access on the main panel. One by one the hallway doors clicked into lock. A shift passed through the building. Officers stepped out of rooms and froze as the locks engaged. Within minutes, word spread. Officers watched from doorways as Lena passed. Mark could feel their confusion, their irritation, their fear. He knew some of them would see her as a threat before they understood anything. He knew that judgment. He had made it himself earlier that evening. He regretted it now more than ever. Lena headed directly for the restricted room near the back of the station. The server room. Controlled access only. She held up a keycard and the light turned green without delay. None of them had seen that keycard before. "Wait," Mark said as the door clicked open. "How do you have access to this building?" "I have access to more than this building," she replied. Inside, the room hummed with a low vibrational sound of machines. It was colder here. Cleaner. A place meant for silent intelligence, not arguments. She moved straight to the main terminal, plugged in a drive from her coat, and began downloading logs. Her fingers flew across the keys with practiced precision. Mark stood just behind her. "You said someone inside leaked your route. Who would do that?" She didn't look at him. "Someone who understands the system. Someone with clearance to override routine checks." "That could be anyone," he said quietly. "No," she replied. "No, it could not." A voice called from behind them. "You want to explain why the building is locked down?" Mark turned. Officer Evan Reed, his closest friend on the force, stood in the doorway. Late 30s. Solid build. Controlled chaos behind his eyes. He looked from Mark to Lena and back again. "This is bigger than you think," Mark said. Evan crossed his arms. "Then start talking." Lena didn't turn from the terminal. "Someone inside your department intercepted a federal route and leaked my location to hostile contacts. They were expecting me in Maple Crest before sunset." The silence that followed felt heavy. "Are you accusing us?" Evan asked. "I am identifying a breach," Lena said. The guilty person will reveal themselves soon enough. Her voice had a way of making even simple statements feel like warnings. Mark watched Evan for any reaction, any sign of uneasiness, but Evan held his ground with the same calm he always had. The server chimed. Lena removed the drive and pocketed it. "All right," she said. "I have what I need." But before she moved, another figure appeared in the doorway. A man Mark had hoped to avoid tonight. Deputy Carl Huxley. Late 40s. Head shaved clean. A uniform always pressed too perfectly. A stare that felt like a challenge before he even spoke. "Well," Carl said, "if it isn't the ghost herself." Mark's blood ran cold. "You know her?" Carl smirked. "We worked together once. Short assignment." Lena finally turned away from the terminal. She did not smile. She did not blink. "You abandoned an operation," she said. "You left the team without warning." Carl stepped forward. "You left 3 bodies in a safe house. Maybe remind them of that part too." Mark looked from one to the other. "He was federal?" "Not anymore," Lena said sharply. Carl's eyes narrowed at her wrist. "Still wearing the same old watch. Does that trick still work?" "You would be surprised," she said. Evan stepped forward. "What is going on here?" Lena reached into her coat. She pulled out a small recorder and pressed play. A distorted voice filled the hallway. "She leaves that checkpoint by 7:10. She takes the same route every time. I guarantee it." The voice belonged to Carl. Mark felt his world shift again. Harder this time. Carl didn't deny it. He didn't look shocked. He only tilted his head slightly, his tone almost amused. "You think that means anything?" he said. "It means you fed my route to foreign contacts," Lena said. "It means you tried to finish what you started years ago." Mark didn't see the attack coming. Carl lunged with sudden force. Mark caught his arm, but Carl swung his elbow into Mark's ribs and shoved him aside. Chairs toppled. The walls rattled. Lena did not panic. She stepped forward and held out her badge. "Carl Huxley," she said. "You are under arrest for treason, collaboration with foreign networks, and obstruction of federal investigation." More officers rushed in. They pinned Carl to the floor. He kept fighting until someone finally locked cuffs around his wrists. Even then, he kept talking. "You think this stops with me?" he snarled. "You have no idea who you're chasing." Lena stepped closer to him. "I am not chasing you. You were the decoy." Carl froze. His breathing stuttered. Not from fear, but from the realization he wasn't as important as he'd believed. She turned away without waiting for him to respond. Outside the cell block, Mark stood with his hands on his hips. His face pale. His mind trying to rebuild itself from everything that had shattered. "He worked next to us every day," Mark whispered. "He joked with us. Ate with us. Lena looked at him. Traitors rarely look like monsters. They look like people who know how to blend in. He rubbed his forehead. "What happens now?" "We keep going," she said. Her voice held a quiet strength that pulled him back from the edge. Because this wasn't even close to over. Mark followed her out of the hallway without a word. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on him with every step. Carl wasn't just a co-worker. He had been someone Mark trusted. Someone everyone trusted. And the idea that Carl had been working against them for months made Mark feel like the ground beneath him wasn't solid anymore. Lena kept walking, her pace steady, her focus unbroken. She didn't need a moment to process. She'd seen this kind of betrayal too many times to be surprised by it. They reached the evidence room. A metal door. A keypad. A lock that required both a code and a key. Lena entered the code without hesitation. The door clicked open. Mark stared at her. "How do you know that code?" "Because I'm not here for the first time," she said. Her answer was quiet, but it carried enough truth to make him step back. Inside the room, old fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Rows of shelves lined the walls. Boxes, cases, weapons, logs, files. 1,000 pieces of someone's job scattered across metal racks. Lena walked straight to the far corner and opened the compact case from her SUV. She laid the contents out in a neat line on the evidence table. Photos, coordinates, printed stills from surveillance cameras, handwritten notes in a code Mark couldn't recognize. One printed picture repeated across several folders. The same man in each. Buzzed hair, dark eyes, hard jawline. Always looking away from the camera, but always present. Mark leaned over the table. "Who is he?" "Goes by the name Rafik," she said. "A courier. Not a foot soldier. Not a mastermind. Someone paid to carry dangerous things across borders." "What kind of things?" Mark asked. "Information," she said. "Sometimes physical. Sometimes digital. Always valuable. And he was here tonight?" She tapped one surveillance photo. He was parked near Maple Crest Middle School for almost an hour. No reason to be there. No connection. No child to pick up. Mark felt a cold shiver. What was he waiting for? "Me," she said. The word hit him like a blow. Mark swallowed. So he and Carl were working together. "No," Lena said. "Carl was only a link. Someone bigger used him to steer me into Maple Crest. Someone with access to city systems." "Someone like who?" She pulled out another photo. This one showed a man in a light jacket handing an envelope to Rafik through a car window. "Do you recognize him?" Lena asked. Mark squinted. "Looks familiar." "Look again." Mark moved closer. It clicked in an instant. "That's Adam Vellner," he said. "City engineer. Works with infrastructure. Traffic systems. Building networks. He does inspections for power grids." "And those same power grids had outages last week," Lena said. "Small. Timed. All in places that give access to controls. Someone used those outages to hide data transfers." Mark's hands went numb. "So he's part of it. Compromised or cooperating," she said. "Either way, he's involved." Mark grabbed the table's edge. "And what's inside the case Rafik was carrying?" "Access credentials. Passcodes. Secure identities for federal officers working overseas. If that case leaves the country, 6 operatives go dark before sunrise." Mark stared at her. "This is bigger than anything we handle." "This isn't your case," she said. "This is mine." The door opened behind them. Evan stepped inside, breathing hard. "Lena," he said. "We found something." He held out his phone. A map. Red dots. Locations. "These are the tunnels under the courthouse district," Evan said. "Old ones. Before the renovations." Lena took the phone. Her eyes narrowed. "How old?" she asked. "Older than me," he said. "Barely anyone knows they exist." "They exist," she said, "because someone wanted a hidden path for something they didn't want to move above ground." Mark looked at her. "What are you saying?" She set the phone down. "The transfer didn't happen today. It's happening tonight." Before they could process that, Lena's smartwatch vibrated again. She raised it. A secure voice crackled through. "Update. Rafik spotted leaving a warehouse on Colton Road. He's heading toward the courthouse district." Mark looked up sharply. "So this is it." Yes, Lena said. This is the exchange point. You're going alone? Evan asked. That's the job. Mark stepped in front of her. No, not this time. I'm coming. You're not trained for this, she said. I don't care, he replied. I'm not letting you walk into that alone. She studied him for a long moment. Something shifted in her eyes. Not doubt. Not approval. Something in between. Finally, she handed him a small pouch. Vest is inside. Put it on. Stay close. Do exactly what I say. He nodded without hesitation. Evan looked torn. What do I do? Lena turned to him. Secure the evidence. Send everything to the federal channel. Do not trust your internal systems. Evan nodded slowly. And if someone tries to stop me? Don't let them, she said. She and Mark left the evidence room. The corridor felt colder now. Darker. Heavy with the truth hanging in the air. They walked out of the precinct and into the night, heading straight toward the place where answers waited below the ground. The streetlights flickered faintly as if the whole town could feel what was coming. Because nothing about tonight was random. And nothing about what waited for them in those tunnels would be simple. The old maintenance tunnel sat behind a chain-linked gate on the edge of town, where the streetlights gave up and darkness claimed the rest. The air was colder here. Heavy. Mark could hear his own heartbeat thudding in his chest as Lena cut the lock with a small tool she'd pulled from her coat. The metal snapped cleanly. You sure this is the right entrance? Mark asked. Lena pushed the gate open. Rafik doesn't take risks. He uses the safest route. And tonight, this is it. They stepped into the tunnel. The concrete walls were cracked. Water dripped rhythmically from somewhere deep ahead. The echo of their footsteps stretched into the dark like something alive. Mark stayed only a few steps behind her. He didn't feel brave. He just felt needed. About 50 yards in, they reached a junction lit by a single flickering bulb hanging from a rusted wire. And that's when they saw him. Rafik stood at the center of the junction with his back slightly turned. Slim frame. Dark jacket. The silver case still in his hand. He didn't look surprised to see them. He didn't even look alarmed. You're early, he said. Lena didn't stop walking. You're sloppy. Rafik gave a faint smile. Always liked your confidence. Mark's hand tightened around his weapon. He could feel the danger building like rising heat in a closed room. You carrying tonight? Rafik asked, glancing briefly at Lena's coat. You know I don't answer questions, she said. He nodded as if he had expected that. Then he shifted his weight and glanced past her shoulder, toward the tunnel behind them. Where's your partner? He asked. I don't bring partners, she replied. That's a shame, he said. The broker likes watching the reaction of the second person. Mark raised his weapon slightly. Broker. A voice echoed from behind the junction wall. She means me. Lena and Mark both turned as Adam Vellner stepped out of the shadows. The city engineer. Sleeves rolled up. Hair damp with sweat. He held a handgun pointed loosely at the ground. But his eyes were locked on Lena. I always wondered how you stayed hidden for so long, Vellner said. Turns out you were hiding in plain sight. You're out of your depth, Lena said. He lifted the gun just enough to show he wasn't scared. No, not anymore. This is bigger than anything you've handled. You compromise infrastructure. You move stolen data. You sell access, Lena said calmly. You're not big. You're useful. That's all. His jaw tightened. Rafik took a half step back, placing himself between them. Enough, he said. We need to complete the exchange. Lena stepped forward. Open that case and I stop you before your hand reaches the latch. Rafik froze. He knew she wasn't bluffing. Vellner pointed the gun fully now. You're not leaving with that case. You ruined the transfer at the checkpoint. You ruined the decoy. You ruined everything. Mark stood beside Lena. His voice was steady now. Why betray your own system? Vellner's lip curled. Because the system forgot about people like me. Because when the world changes, you either adapt or you get buried under it. Lena stared at him, unflinching. That's not why you're here. You're here because someone bought you. He flinched, and that was the crack she needed. You don't even know the names of the people controlling you, she said. You're not a mastermind. You're a messenger. He aimed the gun higher. You talk too much. And you understand too little. Rafik looked between them. We're wasting time. He reached for the case latch. Lena moved first. In a single motion she stepped forward, kicking the case upward and sending it out of Rafik's grip. It spun in the air. Mark lunged forward and caught it, stumbling back into the tunnel wall. Vellner fired a shot that cracked the concrete inches from Mark's shoulder. Rafik rushed toward Lena. She dodged his swing and struck his forearm, knocking him off balance. Vellner fired again, but the bullet ricocheted off a rusted pipe, sending sparks down the tunnel. Mark pressed against the wall, clutching the case. He could barely see. He could barely think. But he knew one thing. If he dropped the case, people would die. Rafik lunged at him. Mark braced for impact, but Lena slammed into Rafik from behind, sending him crashing to the ground. Vellner turned the gun toward her. Mark fired first. Not at Vellner's chest. Not at his head. Mark shot the gun out of his hand. The metal clattered across the tunnel floor. Vellner screamed and dropped to his knees, gripping his hand. Rafik tried to get up, but Lena pinned him with a knee to the back, securing his wrists. "Stay down," she said, her voice steady. Mark approached with the case still in hand. His breath shook, but he didn't drop it. Rafik lifted his head. "You have no idea what you've stopped." "No," Lena said. "I know exactly what I've stopped." She turned to Mark. "Call it in." He tapped his radio, voice trembling. "Federal assist. 2 targets secured. Need containment teams. Immediately." The radio crackled with a confirmation. Vellner's voice shook. "You think this ends with us? You haven't even reached the surface." Lena knelt beside him. "Then it's good I'm not done." His face twisted as if he wanted to spit at her, but he knew better. Minutes later, the tunnel filled with footsteps. Federal agents poured into the passage, securing both men and taking the case from Mark. The tension in the air loosened, though the chill of everything they had uncovered still hung around them. Mark leaned against the wall, exhausted. "Is it finally over?" Lena looked at him. "No. But tonight was the part that mattered." The agents led Rafik and Vellner out of the tunnel, their voices fading into the night. Lena remained for a moment, staring at the empty space where the case had been. She looked tired for the first time since he'd met her. Mark took a quiet breath. "What happens to them?" "They disappear," she said. "The world moves on. That's how this work is." "And you?" he asked. She looked at him with something close to gratitude and something close to warning. "I move too." They walked out of the tunnel into the cool night air. The town felt different now. Like every streetlight and every shadow held a piece of a story most people would never understand. Days passed. Carl Huxley vanished into federal detention without a headline. Adam Vellner resigned from city engineering and his house was emptied before morning. Rafik was taken somewhere without a name. Somewhere his work would never reach again. Mark returned to patrol. But he wasn't the same officer anymore. He looked longer, listened harder, questioned things he used to assume. Lena left the town quietly. No goodbye. No final message. Only the memory of a night that had changed everything. But she didn't go far. Her SUV moved along an empty stretch of highway 2 states away when a message chimed through her earpiece. "Agent Brooks," the voice said. "Your next assignment is active." She didn't ask where. She didn't ask who. She simply said, "Send the file." The road stretched out ahead of her. Dark, wide, waiting. Some missions end in explosions. Some end in silence. But the ones that matter most end exactly the way this one did. With someone still willing to keep going. If you want, I can continue with an optional epilogue or tighten the entire 5-part story into a full seamless script.